Hi guys, I'm Andrew from Cruisemaster, and today I want to show you through our new Land Cruiser 200 remote area testing vehicle. It is the lead vehicle on our rat trips that we do every year, where we head out bush and we test the products that we make here at Cruisemaster. As well as being the remote area testing vehicle, it's also my daily, so it gets involved in baby carrying duties, taking the family out, and also doing the groceries as well. So it needs to be able to function as a multi-purpose vehicle. So we're going to cover all the accessories today that we put on this and give you a bit of a background of why we selected some of those parts. So we'll start up the front with the off-road animal Bullbar. One of the big drivers for this build was to keep the weight low. Whilst it does have a big GVM kit in it, which we will go over in a minute, I did want to make sure that we kept the weight as low as possible. I don't like extra weight, which causes stress on components. It's harder to stop the vehicle, it's harder to get it going, it uses more fuel. So if you can carefully select the right product, you can have a much better driving experience and ultimately more reliable. So this Bullbar in particular was about 30 kilos less than the competition, the other Bullbars that we fitted to our vehicles in the past. Whilst it still seems a very robust product, there are some little subtle things which are different in the design, such as how the winch is mounted in this bar. In the past we've used TJM bars, and how they mount is they have a separate winch frame which ultimately holds the winch separately to the channel, the bit at the front of the Bullbar there that you can see. And that also integrates the crush mounts for the airbag compatibility. The benefit of that is it's nice and strong, but it's also very heavy. So on this Bullbar, the winch is actually mounted straight to the channel, so all the forces do go through that mounting system. So it is a bit different. However, I think due to the compact nature of the design of the Bullbar, the winch is far enough back that it's highly unlikely we're going to have a problem, but time will tell. Now, if we do need to use this winch in a situation, it's going to be a pretty heavy load on it. So we're probably going to have a 3.5 ton trailer on the back. This weighs quite a bit, so it will be a big challenge for the bar and winch. When it comes to the winch, I spent quite a bit of time scouring the internet, looking at people's data sheets and trying to come up with the lightest winch I could possibly find. Obviously that starts off with synthetic rope, that's pretty much a given these days, but I settled on a carbon winch. And it came in at the mid 20 kilos, which is at least 6 to 10 kilos less than a lot of other winches on the market. When I asked them about what went into making it so light, they did say it was careful selection of materials. So I haven't really got into it to see what those are, but I'm really keen to see how it performs, because if we can remove another 5 to 10 kilos of weight off the front axle of the vehicle, but still maintain a strong, reliable winch, it's a great outcome. The Bullbar is also the platform for part of the lighting solution on this vehicle. In the channel here is a thin, steady light bar. I believe this Bullbar was specifically designed for that size of light. It's probably not the only light you want to have if you're doing long distance outback driving. It's not too bad to provide you a bit of additional light around the suburbs, but it definitely doesn't give you the distance of some of the bigger lights. When it comes to the bigger lights on the car, in the past I have used pretty typical round spotlights of the LED or HID variety. When we were talking to the tuners about the vehicle that we were going to build in the Land Cruiser 200, they did say they have seen the impact of big spotlights on the cooling, particularly I think it was intercooler temperatures on Land Cruiser 200s, because they draw air from 2 channels just behind the bonnet there. So if we have a big spotlight in front of it, it can restrict the airflow and it can increase those temperatures, which over time can impact the power delivery from the engine. So as such, we thought we'll give the slimmer light bar solution a go and try to improve the airflow into the car. So on this, we've got 2 of the Steady Pro Series light bars, and the light output from them is insane. I'm really looking forward to when we hit the roads on our rat run to see whether we get a good distance of spot light travel from these. They definitely give you the spread, which is great for picking up the kangaroos at the side of the road, but we'll be interested to see how we go with the distance. I do typically think that people focus on distance way too much. At the end of the day, what I want these lights for is making sure that I don't hit a kangaroo, and I don't care whether I can see a kangaroo 2 kilometers away. It's a kangaroo that I need to be able to see just outside of my braking distance. So that's one of the reasons that I preferenced these products. Also mounted to the Bullbar is the antenna. So on my vehicles I typically have two because this is a universal base and you can unscrew the whip out of it. The short one we use for round town and also for around the Glasshouse Mountains and stuff like that, where we want a bit of a shorter but wider spread of signal. When we do the big trips, I put the higher gain, longer whip on there so you can get longer distance communications out of it. All right, from there, we'll just head round the side here now and show you some of the other things fitted to the vehicle. Mounted to the side here is a Snorkel. This one is a Safari RMAX. We selected this one to make sure we get maximum airflow into the vehicle, to make sure we can get maximum power, particularly as we plan on tuning this car. What I did find with it, that whilst it definitely sucks a lot of air in, due to the modifications to the airbox, you do get a bit of reverberation in certain RPM levels when you're driving the vehicle, typically at low speed. It initially concerned me as to whether it was going to become annoying, but over time I've grown used to it and now I don't really notice. So I don't think it's a major issue, but probably something you should be aware of if you're considering a Snorkel fitted to the vehicle. Whilst we're around here, we've got an AEV J-Max GVM kit in this thing. It's a 4.2 ton GVM and it features a lot of really cool products in it. So it's got a full suite of King's remote reservoir shocks. It's got a full suite of heavy duty coil springs. The ones in the back are particularly massive. What I've been really impressed with is, given the massive spring rates in this car, obviously for the big GVM and the carrying capacity, it actually rides really well, better than a lot of other GVM kits that I've driven in the past. Up the front here as part of the kit, it also has replacement upper control arms to make sure we maintain the right alignment settings. These particular ones are Ironman, I believe they're forged aluminium. They're a really nice design and a much more sleek product than a lot of the tube manufactured products out there. Really keen to see how they hold up to the corrugations. Hopefully there isn't too many problems with that. Up the back, it's got the replacement radius arms and a replacement diff housing, so we get that high 2.5 ton rear axle capacity in this vehicle. The other correction components in the vehicle is a diff drop kit at the front, also part of that GVM kit. And whilst we're talking about that area, we've got K-On Underbody Guards on this vehicle. I wanted to put those on because I really like the design of them. They're a local company just at the south side of Brisbane. Some great design ideas in there, such as a little drain channel, so when you are doing an oil change, you don't have to remove the guards. It also means if you've got a lazy mechanic, you don't end up with a guard full of oil. Afterwards, it guides the oil away from them. So really sleek design there from those guys. The last part of the GVM kit is, because of the massive rear axle capacity, you have to upgrade the rims and tyres on the vehicle. These particular ones are ROH Octagons. I used those on the previous vehicle. They're strong as, and I quite like the design because it's really easy to clean. I hate complex wheels. We've got to get a toothbrush in there to clean them. You can give these a wipe and they come up really good. When it comes to tyres on the 200, I was planning on putting Nitto Ridge grapplers on it. However, when it came to ordering them, there was none in the country. So we had some contacts with Kenda, so we fitted these. They are a much more affordable tyre than a lot of the other big name brands out there. They have a really aggressive tread pattern. I think whilst they're designed to be in that kind of mid-tier hybrid tread pattern, I think they're a bit more aggressive than a lot of the other ones. And that does tend to result in more noise inside the vehicle from the tyres. And given that this is a better sound deadened vehicle than my 70, they are noisier, so it is something to be aware of. But we're keen to see how they go off-road, because the trade-off of that aggressive tread pattern should be grip and mud clearing, so really keen to see how they go. All right, down the side here, we've got MSA mirrors fitted to it, so we can extend them out when we're towing trailers and stuff like that. Had them on my 70 as well. They've been a great product, really easy to use and really nicely made. Up the side here, we've got TJM side steps. We pulled them all apart and powder coated them in the same finish to match the Bullbar. So we think they look pretty slick. I don't really like the aluminium shiny tread plates. So it's a nice addition to the vehicle, nice stealth look. The roof rack on the 200 is a roller tightened tray. And one of the benefits of now being part of the Autopack group is access to some products that we haven't used in the past and giving them a go. This is a platform style roof rack, and so far I've found it to be really good. It's definitely quieter than some of the other platform racks that I've tried in the past. I think part of that is the clearance to the roof. So there is a downside to that because it does sit about 30 mil higher than other roof racks I've used in the past. It is a bit of an issue when it comes to getting into low car parks. However, the trade-off of that is it does make it much easier to clean the roof. Other features I like about it is they have a keyed channel around the outside of the rack as well as in the standard position on the top of the racks. So it does make it easier to fit some accessories to it. So up the front here, we've got another Steady Pro Series light bar. This is, I think, is the 39-inch model. It's massive and it's really heavy. So it was important that we got a good mounting system on it so it doesn't move on corrugations. So with this, we custom designed all our brackets and used the keyed channel at the front there to really tie it into the front of the rack. And I can guarantee that thing is not going to move. It is really solid. Up the back, we've got a couple of Steady lights on the back there for reversing and for camping use as well. They're individually switched, and I'll show you how we do that in a minute. We head around the other side of the vehicle. We've also got an awning on the roof racks. On the passenger side of the 200, we've got a Chaos awning. One of the reasons I selected this is I wanted to match the length of the awning with the length of the roof rack so it doesn't stick out and look a bit odd. So this is slightly shorter than normal, but it does stick out quite a long way. We mounted it to the side of the roof rack using that keyed channel that showed on the other side. We made some custom brackets there. The benefit of that is I can get the awning below the top surface of the roof rack, keeping it nice and low for that car park access again. Other great thing about the Chaos awning is the branding. It's the same color as the Cruisemaster branding, so it tied in pretty nicely there. And when it comes to the branding on the side of the car, this got a pretty much complete full wrap by Armor Doctor. They did a really good job of making it look slick. It's got a satin black for the majority of the vehicle. On the bonnet, they laid a stag emblem down first, and then they wrapped over the top. I wasn't sure whether it was going to work when he first presented it to us, but I think it looks really good on this vehicle. Moving around the back, Armor Doctor also wrapped the tailgate and the rear window in 3M PPF, so that is protection film. One of the reasons I like wrapping the back of the vehicles, you get a lot of stone chips off the trailers when we're on our rat runs, and I like to protect the paint as much as I can. Also, I like to protect the rear window. Whilst it might not stop it breaking, it will hold it together if it does shatter. And I have broken windows before, and that is the thing holding the whole lot together. So I believe it's quite important to get that done. Whilst around the back here, got a Kmart rear bar on the 200. We've also custom powder coated that to match the side steps and the off-road animal Bullbar on the front. Now on this, I only wanted the rear bumper. On my last car, I did have the full wheel carrier solution on it. And I did find 99% of the time when I'm not on the trip, it was a pain to have to use the carrier arms when you needed quick access to the back of the car. So in this case, the spare is still mounted underneath in the standard position, and we're using the bar as a protective unit. The bumper on the back of the 200 is quite wide and bulbous, so we did find on our previous 200, particularly through the telegraph track, it was really easy to hit a corner and lift it up and peel it out from its clips on the side of the car. So this will really protect the vehicle nicely. Also at the back of the car here, you can see we've got a Legend X 3-inch exhaust. That's DPF back from both sides. It does have a really nice, subtle sound. I didn't want it to be a really burbly, noisy V8 sound. Obviously you want a bit of it because you do have a V8, but I didn't want something that on the trips I'm going to get a headache from, because with big hours in the car, you don't need that in your life. Whilst at the back here, you can see the reverse lights that are put up there on the roller tighten tray. So we'll head into the back of the Cruiser now. All right, in the back of the 200, the first thing we've got in here is a couple of touch sensitive lights so we can see what's going on in the back of the car. One of the things, again, I didn't want to do in this vehicle is add unnecessary weight. So for the first time, I shied away from putting a full draw system in. A draw system will typically add 80 to 100 kilos of weight to the vehicle before you put anything in it. And then I found I was in a really bad habit of, because I had all of the space, I'd fill the drawers full of stuff that I'd never use. So I laid everything out and said, what do I need on a day-to-day basis? And restricted it down to the stuff you need on a more consistent basis. And things like the recovery gear that you use a couple of times a year, the plan is to put that into a Pelican case on the roof. The benefit of all the new lightweight recovery gear means we can put it on the roof without affecting the center of gravity too much. In addition to the fact that when we are off-road, I've typically got a trailer on the back, which means I might not be able to open my tailgate to get to the recovery gear. So if it's on the roof, I can easily get to it whenever I need it. So in the back here, I revisited my grade 12 woodworking skills and made a false floor and battery storage system in the back here. The key was all about lightweight. This is 19mm marine ply, all bolted into the factory mounting points in the back of the vehicle, which are typically there for cargo restraint points and also the seat mounting brackets. This is how I have the car set up most of the time when general day-to-day life with the family. So the fridge slide does stay in here. It can be removed. We have designed it to do that, but I found I haven't needed to. Typically, I can throw the bike in the back of the car and it won't damage it. It's all pretty good. On the side here, we've got an Invicta 100 amp hour lithium battery behind there on a custom battery tray, a red arc DC to DC battery charger behind there as well. We've also got some auxiliary power in the back for when we put the custom aluminium fridge cage on, it'll have the inverter bolted to the back of it. So we've got plenty of power for when we're on the trips. I apologise if there's a bit of extra background noise in the video now. We have managed to pick the one day in Queensland that it's going to rain, so it might affect the audio a bit, but we'll push on anyway. In the back of the 200 as well, we've also got an air compressor. This is an ARB twin pump model, so it's got heaps of output for pumping up the tyres on this vehicle. We have remote mounted the outlet for it because I felt like if it was behind the panel here when the back of the vehicle's full of stuff, it is going to affect access to it, so it's nice and easy to get to now when everything's loaded in the back of the car. Other products in the back here is some K-On gear from the same guys who make the underbody guard at the front. It's a pet barrier mounted in there instead of a full cargo barrier, as well as a little cargo shelf up the top there. Again, this was focusing both on weight and usability. I believe it's all aluminium, it really weighs nothing, keeps gear up and out of the way, nice lightweight stuff. If I've got the family in the car, we'll typically have the towels and stuff up there, get them out of the way. For the rat run, we'll have air compressor gear up there so it's nice and easy to get to. It also means day-to-day use, I don't have a big cargo barrier in the way that affects access into the back of the vehicle. All right, so we're done around the back now. We'll jump in the driver's seat and we'll show you what's going on up the front there. I like to keep the driving compartment of my vehicles pretty clutter-free. I hate stuff hanging off the dash and all that type of stuff, so I really try to keep it nice and clean. So as such, we've got a remote head GME XRS UHF. In the past, I've generally used ICOM UHFs. I found them to be very reliable, but these things were getting really good reviews, so I thought we'd give it a go in our new vehicles. One of the things I really like so far is the magnetic connection point on there, which does make it a lot easier for it to find its home. I think that'll be a really good benefit when we're driving on corrugations. Instead of trying to find the little clip thing when everything's shaking around, I think it should be a much better thing. Moving ahead here, we've replaced the absolutely terrible Toyota head unit with the Kenwood one. The Toyota one, this is a 2020 vehicle, still didn't have CarPlay, so that had to go. We put a Kenwood unit in, it's got CarPlay, it's also got an advanced ICE system bolted to the back, which gives you HEMA maps capability straight into the head unit, as well as the ability to have some additional cameras into the Kenwood unit there as well. So that is a massive improvement. Moving along here, we've also got a pretty condensed Switch Pros control panel here. This controls a solid state relay and fuse block underneath the bonnet, which I'll show you in a minute. And this controls pretty much all of the accessories in the vehicle. You can also control everything from the Switch Pro through my phone. So if I wanted to turn the lights on when I'm outside the vehicle, I can do that as well. So we've got the rear lights switched for camping or reverse. I can control my 3 light bars separately. I can turn the intercooler fans on and off. Thought that might be a good idea if we're doing a deep river crossing. I can isolate that so it doesn't force water into the fins of the intercooler and potentially damage it. Control the compressor from here, and I can also turn the power on and off to the Anderson plug on the back of the car. From there, I've got some custom switches here which controls the winch. So those switches isolate the power to the winch on and off, as well as control the spool in and out. So it means I don't have to get out of the car to plug an external controller into the winch. It does mean someone's still got to get out there and run the line, of course, but it means I can stay nice and dry as well. Got a scan gauge up here so I can keep an eye on some of the critical things that I can read through the OBD connector, as well as if there are any engine faults, I can identify what those are, clear them, and hopefully that'll fix the problem. Otherwise, I can identify what component might actually be causing the issue and potentially fix it. Also in the front here, we've got some super fit seat covers. Been using these for a few years. I don't really like the canvas seat covers. Yes, they're nice and heavy duty, but they're not particularly comfortable, particularly when you've got many hours of driving in the vehicle. These denim covers are far better. Over on the side here, we've also got the lamp for the fuel filter. So if I do get water in it, I get an audible sound, as well as a light there on the dash. Also in here, got lots of stuff going on, of course. We've got the Red Arc Tow Pro controller in here in a nice central place, easy to see what setting you've got it on, and in nice easy reach if I do need to push the button to activate the brakes at full power. And last of all, using one of the OE switch blanks here, got a dual USB point that connects to the Kenwood, so it charges it and gives it the audio signal for controlling music and the CarPlay system. So that's everything up the front here. Now I'm going to pop the bonnet and show you what's going on under there. Right, under the bonnet here we've got quite a bit going on, but we've really focused on trying to make it simple and easy to access everything when we're out on a trip. Up the front here we've got a custom bracket with the Switch Pros controller on it. That does the solid state switching and a lot of the low and medium current duties. We have inputs into that from high beam, reverse and ignition. And then through the app on the phone, we can control how the switches turn on and what they respond to from various inputs. The high current things like the Anderson plug on the back of the car, as well as the light bar on the roof, because it draws a lot of current, does go through some secondary high current relays. But they're all packaged there in a nice, simple solution. And a lot of vehicles, you'll open up the bonnet and there'll be 20 different blade fuse holders into 20 different relays. And it's just very hard to do anything. You have a lot of cables running everywhere, which has a lot of potential risk for having unreliable connections and accessory fitments. So we really focus on keeping that nice and simple. Also on the power side of things, it's got a Megalife cranking battery in there, got a huge amount of cold cranking amps. It really turns over this V8 no problem at all. Just like in the 70 series, it's the 2-cell system. So we run off a primary side for most of the time. If I do flatten it, I can hit the button and it engages a reserve cell, which starts the car. Obviously, the other benefit of having the lithium cranker is it is substantially lighter. So that weighs about 8 kilos as opposed to the standard factory battery, which was about 32 kilos. It's a massive weight saving there as well. Up the back of the engine bay here, got a Direction Plus air oil separator. So that removes the oil from the crankcase ventilation system and stops it going back up the intake and gumming it all up. That drains through a closed system beneath the car that we get pretty much every time we service it, every 10,000 kilometers, open it up, drain the waste oil out of there. Moving over, also from Direction Plus is a secondary fuel filter with finer elements in there for catching more particles to make sure we look after the fuel system in this vehicle. Obviously, if we're going into remote areas, we want to make sure our fuel supply is very good and the risk of having bad fuel is very high. So we need to manage that risk adequately. In here, we've got PWR intercooler fans. On the 70, I had the fans and the intercooler. It's a really, really good system. It's that really found that bang for buck, that the intercooler fans make the biggest difference. They're not there for high speed runs. The forced air through the scoop and into the intercooler is more than enough to do that. It is only really there for if we're pushing low range or in soft sand and we're not getting that airflow through the intercooler, we can help it out using those fans. Our tuners at Flash Diesel have done some work on another one of our vehicles, and they found that it did make a massive difference at low speed in maintaining that lower intercooler temperature, which ultimately gives you a bit more power. All right, so that's pretty much everything on our remote area testing Land Cruiser 200. This whole build was done here at our Brisbane-based Cruisemaster Towing Performance Centre. We've become a bit of an expert in modifying 200s because of the market that we're in, particularly in towing modifications. So if it is something you're interested in looking at, please give the guys here at the Cruisemaster Towing Performance Centre a call and they'll be happy to help you out. And we did put up on Instagram if you had any questions for us about the Land Cruiser 200 and the build. The first one was, are we going to get a Land Cruiser 300? The answer is probably yes. However, there's a bit of a time cycle that has to occur for all the accessory companies to make parts for them. So we won't get it straight up. We'll wait for everybody to get those cool products out there, and then we'll look at getting a vehicle and doing a build up for the next rat run. I think people are pretty negative about the 300. I think it should be a pretty good thing. Whilst it's not a massive leap forward in technology, Toyota know what they're doing. I'm sure it's going to be a really good, reliable vehicle. Particularly interested in that 10-speed gearbox, because the gearbox in this thing's pretty rubbish. So I reckon that'd be a really good thing. The second question was, do I miss anything from my 76 series that I had before? Yeah, there are a couple of things. I definitely miss the Recaros that I had in that. The seats in the 200 are pretty average, and those Recaros really held you well, particularly on rough roads. I also miss in really hard off-road conditions, the outright capability of the 70 was pretty insane. With those double lockers, the coiled rear end, it was super capable. But the trade-off is this thing's going to be so much more comfortable for those 2 weeks out on the road. Now, if you're interested in seeing how everything we've done to this vehicle went on our rat run, keep an eye out on social media to make sure you don't miss out.